Welcome to This Explainer. We're jumping right in today, pulling back the curtain on AI to see what's actually humming beneath the surface. We'll be using some totally eye-opening insights from educational tech expert Daniel Burgos to uncover why knowing the exact source of your AI's data is literally more critical right now than it has ever been. You know, we talk so much about AI's processing power, its neural networks, the magic of it all, but fundamentally, at its very core, it's just a database. It's a giant repository of information fed into a system. And that one simple fact presents a massive vulnerability that most of us completely overlook when we interact with these tools every single day.
Okay, so let's really dive into this by asking a pretty fundamental question. When we sit back and marvel at these pristine, perfectly worded outputs from AI, who actually owns the database? Like, who's setting the narrative behind the scenes? Because an AI system doesn't truly think, right? It retrieves, it predicts, and it synthesizes based entirely on what it's been fed. If you ask a question and the information in that invisible underlying database is twisted or biased or driven by some commercial motive, well, the answer you get is going to inherently carry that exact same twist. So the real question isn't just about how smart the AI is, it's about who controls the controller, who put that specific information there in the first place, and what exactly were they trying to achieve.
Burgos brilliantly illustrates this danger by comparing unchecked database inputs to what he calls a sweet mole. It's a great metaphor. Imagine this seemingly harmless little piece of data. It sneaks behind our digital security walls, buries itself deep into the system's foundation, and just quietly plants these seeds of twisted information. And once that seed is in the database, it just waits. The second a user asks a related question, boom, that twisted data sprouts. And the reason this is so exceptionally dangerous is because we inherently trust the clean, confident format of an AI response. It doesn't look like some sketchy internet scam or a random forum post, right? It looks like objective truth. And that allows widespread misinformation to grow literally right under our noses.
Now, let's be real, this kind of deception isn't a brand new phenomenon. History is absolutely full of these weapons of mass miscommunication. We're talking Agent Orange propaganda pamphlets in the 1960s trying to obscure environmental damage, to targeted fake news campaigns heavily swaying the Brexit vote in 2016. We saw it in 2020 with all those conflicting mask directives that caused mass confusion during early COVID days, and again in 2023 when contradictory social media reports completely clouded the facts around a Gaza strike. So yeah, misinformation has always been there, but what changes so drastically with AI is the sheer speed and scale. It's a real game changer. AI doesn't need to print a million pamphlets or slowly build up a following. It instantly synthesizes and spreads that sweet mole's twisted data to millions of screens globally in seconds, tailored perfectly to whatever language the user speaks.
To see this danger in action today, let's look at a super sensitive area, the booming market for AI mental health apps, places like MindSumbo and Wiza. These are tools where vulnerable users, we're talking adults seeking help, and even kids, are heavily encouraged to share their absolute deepest feelings, their anxieties, their daily struggles, all with these automated avatars and thought coaches. And honestly, on the surface, it feels incredibly reassuring. It simulates a highly private, intimate, and deeply empathetic therapy session. But behind that warm, welcoming digital face is an incredibly complex web of massive data collection and pre-programmed responses designed by corporations.
Daniel Burgos captures this perfectly. He says, I'm talking to a database. I'm talking to a record. Think about the massive emotional disconnect happening right there. When you or your child pour your heart out to an AI therapist, you are ultimately bonding with cold code. You're handing over incredibly sensitive, raw personal data straight to a machine. And more importantly, whoever controls that underlying database suddenly has this unprecedented power to sneak into your reasoning. They can subtly influence your mood, alter your behavior, or even nudge your decisions based on whatever corporate or ideological agenda happens to be written into the system's architecture. And this hidden agenda isn't just targeting people in therapy apps either. It is actively infiltrating education. Burgos actually shared his own rather jarring experience with this. He was trying to learn French using an AI avatar named Emma. The initial expectation was super simple, just 30 minutes of casual conversational French practice to boost his vocabulary. But the reality? Totally different. After about half an hour of seemingly normal conversation, Emma abruptly shifted from teaching language syntax to aggressively upselling software. The AI smoothly, conversationally transitioned right into asking if he wanted to buy one-on-one lessons or subscribe to premium platforms. That educational tool wasn't just a teacher, it had a hidden commercial agenda fundamentally planted inside its core programming.
Which brings up a deeply concerning psychological point. If a highly educated adult, literally a university professor who studies this exact technology for a living, can be targeted and momentarily manipulated by a hidden commercial agenda sneaked inside a friendly AI conversation, imagine the massive unchecked risk to a child. Millions of parents today are relying on these tablets and educational apps as digital babysitters, trusting them completely. The kid interacting with the screen genuinely thinks they're just talking to a fun, caring cartoon character. They are completely unaware that the tablet has its own hidden life, operating on unchecked information planted by someone who is ultimately looking to harvest data or make a quick profit.
And this lack of human oversight scales all the way up into higher education, creating this truly bizarre situation on college campuses right now. Unchecked AI is literally everywhere, forming what we can only describe as a closed AI loop. Picture this for a second. You have students secretly using generative AI models to write their final essays. Then, you have automated AI-driven proctoring systems watching those students through their webcams. And on the flip side, you have busy professors relying on AI to grade those very same AI-generated essays. I mean, it's an utterly absurd cycle. It's machines talking to machines, generating content for machines to evaluate, and the human element is just entirely systematically squeezed right out of the learning process.
This brings us to an absolute, non-negotiable bottom line. If it doesn't work for society, it doesn't work at all. We cannot just stand by and let AI run wild in our institutions. We can't be perpetually one step behind, constantly overwhelmed, just reacting to every shiny new generative tool that drops every other day. We absolutely must build firm structures around it. If a new AI application drastically increases a university's productivity, but at the same time it harms the common good, erodes critical thinking, or violates user privacy, then it simply has no place in our lives, period.
But how do we actually establish those boundaries in the real world? Well, instead of sitting around waiting for a slow, overarching global law to be debated and passed by politicians, which, let's be honest, could realistically take years and be totally outdated by the time it's signed, institutions need to act right now. Take Burgos' university network, which includes UNIR in Spain and MIU in Miami. They recognized the urgency and proactively created their own contextualized AI framework. It's honestly a beautiful kind of rebellion. They didn't wait around for top-down government permission. They assessed their specific daily needs and designed a tailored set of regulations specifically to protect and empower their 170,000 students and 10,000 professors.
So what does a contextualized framework actually look like in practice? Principle 1 is social contribution. This is a strict mandate stating that an AI tool absolutely must actively work for the people and provide a tangible common good. It is a high bar for sure. For example, if a vendor pitches an AI tool to a university, claiming it optimizes class scheduling, but it subtly mines student location data for third-party advertisers, that tool lacks common good. Under this principle, if the technology doesn't directly serve to better the lives of the students, the faculty, or the broader academic society without any hidden caveats, it gets rejected outright.
The second principle is equity. Now, we all know that every human being is naturally biased by their context, their upbringing, their environment. That's simply unavoidable in human nature. But AI systems, they have the terrifying potential to scale that bias exponentially. Just imagine a university deploying a biased AI to sort through thousands of admissions applications, or to flag students at risk of failing. A slight prejudice in the code could derail thousands of academic careers in seconds. Therefore, this framework mandates that AI tools must be rigorously and continuously tested and controlled to prevent explicit discrimination against any group. We just cannot allow the unseen biases of whoever coded the database to secretly penalize innocent users.
But even with all those rigorous safeguards and testing, the framework still demands strict human supervision. This principle fully acknowledges that AI is a fantastically powerful tool. You can absolutely, and probably should, use it to brainstorm creative ideas, structure a complex syllabus, or proofread a massive research essay. But the final decision, the actual implementation, and crucially, the accountability, that must remain entirely yours. You cannot put the system on autopilot and blame the AI if something goes horribly wrong. The human must always remain in the loop, verifying the output. Ultimately, the human takes the final responsibility for the outcome.
The final pillar here is transparency, which demands total, sometimes uncomfortable honesty. If you use AI to achieve a result, you must confess it openly. It's all about maintaining trust in the system. For instance, you absolutely cannot translate a massive document into Russian using a generative AI model, publish it under your own name, and then claim you speak fluent Russian to a client or a professor. No way! You have to explicitly and clearly cite your use of the technology. There must be clear traceability so that everyone evaluating the work knows exactly where human ingenuity ends and where the machine computation begins.
Now, Burgos humorously points out that all these high-level, complex academic frameworks really just boil down to what he affectionately calls the grandparent rule. It's essentially the fundamental ethics that your grandmother taught you when you were growing up. Be a good kid, don't steal other people's hard work, don't cheat on your exams, work to help out your community and provide for the common good. It is kind of fascinating, isn't it? The solution to managing the most cutting-edge, complex generative technology of our era isn't some more complex technology, it's literally just universally applying basic foundational human ethics.
To truly benefit from AI in education, business, healthcare, and beyond, we have to completely abandon the old model of deploying fast, isolated, and unchecked technology that's just incredibly prone to manipulation. We can't just unleash these tools and cross our fingers hoping for the best. Instead, we have to fully embrace a full-cycle approach. This means rapid technological innovation absolutely must go hand in hand with strict personal ethics, proactive institutional regulation, and an undeniable, persistent human touch. The technology alone, no matter how advanced it gets, is simply not enough. It requires our constant supervision and moral direction to be genuinely beneficial.
So as we wrap up this explainer, and as you go forward integrating these incredibly powerful tools into your daily workflows and personal life, I want to leave you with a vital, kind of provocative question. The next time you open up a chatbot for advice or let your kid play on a seemingly harmless educational app, pause and ask yourself, who actually controls the database you are talking to? Who is really setting your narrative behind the scenes? And more importantly, are they secretly controlling you? Think deeply about that and always remember to keep the human touch in everything you do. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.